I say to people, what is that's keeping you up at night? What is your number one concern? And I'm expecting different coalitions of people. Even today, I was at the Messina Gun Show, the Sportsman Show, and I expected when I spoke with the people at the Messina Sportsman Show that their number one issue was going to be ATVs or guns or whatever. Number one issue repeatedly for me was taxes. You know, you have to lower my tax burden. I just can't make it anymore. You know, so I think if we look at different things that are in place, and if you take a look at that $860 million or $890 million stimulus plan that just went out from the state of New York, the 94-page document, where they're giving all sorts of grant money to people all throughout the state of New York, and you take a look at the legitimacy of some of those grants, and you were to take that money instead and apply it to our tax rolls, it would be a way different story. So now we have the state of New York with $890 million of our taxpayer money, deciding who's going to get that money. We don't get to decide anymore. And then as a part of that process, in addition to it, if you examine each one of those grants, many of them, it stipulates who can actually get jobs. We want X amount of jobs from this grant, and it can only go to low income or moderate income people. So now we're selecting the places, and we're also selecting the people, and it's not going to be based on your skill set, it's going to be based on your income. So that's a huge problem too. If they were to take that $890 million, what could that have done for our state in the form of tax relief? Then you also have the Farmers Institute. I guess there's millions of dollars that go there. There are farmers out there that are creating some of their own really interesting ways to manage their situations and being very entrepreneurial about it. At the same time, they're looking for these different things that are set up for them to give them relief, and they're not feeling that relief. They feel them to be actually quite ineffective. You could take money from COPUS and take that money, at $2.7 million that's being used to take a look at ballistics results, that not one single case was solved in the state of New York as a result of that legislation. $2.7 million, that could go for tax relief. I just think that's what I'm hearing from everybody, and it's not even just agricultural.
Karen, I think Sarah Palin would like to get you to...
Oh, that's the 22. I know that was the first one I shot too, but I really preferred the one on the front page, the 12 gauge. That was my favorite.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's my brother Satori. That was awesome.
You got a question, Jim?
Yes, looks like you should
Go ahead, Pete.
Southpaw.
Excuse me? Yes, I do. Well, actually, I found out I'm left eye dominant, and I didn't know it. I'm trying to shoot out of the right eye, and they're like, okay, well, look in the scope. I'm like, I can't see anything in the scope. And then they said, close your eye, and I could only close this one. They said, you're left eye dominant. Put it on my left shoulder. I was good to go. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pete, you got a question?
I like what you stated up here and some of the information on jobs, but if you are elected, what are you going to do to promote businesses in this state?
I think that an assemblywoman or assemblyman's responsibility is to be a good liaison between businesses that want to come into the state and the obstacles that are associated with that. So I believe my position would be one of making sure that I could get in there, find out what it is that was causing them difficulty with putting a stronghold in an area, trying to work with the local people of the 115th Assembly District. And actually it's more than the 115th, because we really need to establish a North Country coalition of people. The only way we're going to have a good, strong voice in Albany is if we have a good, strong voice. And that's going to happen through multiple people working together. So I believe that there's going to need to be a coalition. Now, you're going to have 4 representatives in St. Lawrence County. That could be powerful. It could be a detriment and it could be hurtful to you, but we could also turn it around and spin it and make it quite powerful. So I think that our job is to intercede and to get in the way and see what the problems are and then see what we can do to fix that. I also think that there's 5 criteria for good, strong, sustainable job growth, and I don't believe New York State tackles those things. You know, number 1, to remove regulations on businesses so that it's user-friendly. Number 2, to produce a climate and a banking climate so that you can get money, right? Number 3 is to have a good, strong, skilled workforce. And we're having a problem getting people who are able to take on some of these jobs from these new businesses coming in because they don't have the skill set available for that. And then when we try to couple that, like with Clinton Community College and at Plattsburgh State, and pull those things together, we're meeting resistance. And much of that resistance is coming from the fact that students aren't exiting high school prepared to tackle those courses in college. And that's a huge problem. We don't have available. I mean, my school district is cutting every single elective course. We are not going to have an elective course next year. So now, well, we think it's good, and for the taxpayer it's good, but what I'm seeing is long term, okay, how are the kids going to, it's the elective courses, the ones that we pair with what is the name of it? Project Lead the Way, which are the engineering courses that we produced at our high school, which will all be gone now. But those were going to be critical for the new aviation piece that's coming into Plattsburgh. And all of that stuff is going to be stopped, and the kids will have to access it at the college level, which is okay. But we don't have the skill set, I think, for our students either. And then the last thing is to embrace technology. You have to be able to embrace technology to good, sustainable job growth and creation in the state, and I don't see that in New York State. So I think that if they would tackle some of those pieces and at least really look at that, and we might be a more attractive climate for other jobs.
Well, just a couple of quick comments on that. First of all, public education's a failure in this country.
Yes, it is.
And if you don't think it is, or if you think it's a success, go to the colleges and look at every single college in America and has a first-year program that teaches kids to use the library. I learned that in the 8th grade.
Yeah, it's an 099 class too, and I totally agree with you. I think
ridiculous.
I've been here 26 years, and it's almost 360, but we're at the bad side of the 360 right now.
We continue to pay more for colleges, we continue to pay more for public education, and they create people who can't show up to work on time and little things. Can't spell their names, sort of like that. But the other thing that I'm concerned about is a small businessman, or as the next one. We've had to pay for the state's bankruptcy in workers' comp and unemployment. The small businessmen, I paid over $10,000 in 3 years to the state that I'll never get back because the state can't handle their own budgets. And what will you do as a legislator to get that money back to us? Because in the letter it says we'll get it back to you as soon as we can afford it. Well, yeah, okay, that's a big.
As soon as we can afford. Are we out?
No, keep going.
As soon as we can afford it, that's never. It's going to obviously be never. I'm a small business owner also. I own Bisso properties. I put 39 college students in 2 times a year, so I can understand. I probably have not met the same issues that you've met. I've had different issues, but I can certainly understand that. I think the job of a good assembly person is to be able to have an open door policy where you can come in, sit down, have a conversation with me, and then we tackle it. I also think the job of a good assembly person is to have a presence at each and every one of their county's legislative meetings every single month, or at least have somebody from their staff there so that you can hear the concerns that are going on at the county level, and I don't have to wait for somebody to come to me and say, hey, there's a problem. I'm there watching the problem, my staff is hearing the problem, and then I'm the person who's the liaison down in Albany to say, we got a problem in St. Lawrence County. For example, Joe, I think it's Joe Lightfoot. Am I saying? Okay. He came and he presented at one of the tea parties, and I got to hear all about unfunded mandates and how it's affecting St. Lawrence County. Clinton County, 55% is based on Medicaid. Franklin County, 48% is Medicaid. St. Lawrence County, huge problem there. And my whole contention, and you were there that day when I was there, was where is your assembly person, and why do you have to go to them? Why are they not saying, hey, I'm going to be here doing this for you? And that's because there's no representative there sitting at the meeting.
Why don't you move to the River District?
The River District.
They need some representation.
I know. Well, here's that good, strong coalition of people that needs to happen. It doesn't need to be just me. I would be one of 4, but it needs to be all of us in the North Country. That's the only way we're going to tackle Albany.
I do have a question
Sure.
for you from myself. How do you stand with I-98?
Okay, I think I-98 has multiple issues. I spoke with several people yesterday at the show who were really pro I-98, and I asked them to explain to me why that was so important to them. And then some other people came by and they expressed their concerns with it too. So I think there's a good balancing act that's going to have to happen. Number one, the state has no money. Okay, so that's my primary concern. So how are we going to afford to put together a system like that when we don't have any money? I mean, well, we just gave $890 million to a ton of people for stimulus growth, and did we attack I-98? No. And they've got all sorts of Excelsior monies that are still attached to that particular grant, which are coming up next. So maybe that would be the way to do it, but we don't have any money. I really think we need to freeze stuff for a while. The other problem, well, the reason people said that they liked I-98 was because they thought that it would encourage business growth to have a straight shot from the right side of the state, over to Watertown and whatnot. And then the other person standing right next to them said, wait a minute, what about all those small towns along the way? What's going to happen to all those small towns when people bypass them and take a straight shot? Because you can go 2 hours without going to the bathroom.